Mhm.
So I've focused on educating community, but also trying to see how can we first our folks build communities. So selling this year, I'm just helping grow different communities around here.
And that's what I wanted you to touch on, because when you said sell, I wanted people to understand what you do. But your people go beyond just this community of DC. When you think about coming from where you come from,
Mhm.
have you ever thought about how can I extend what I do now? So I don't know whether this, I might be wrong here, but from my community,
Mhm.
people that I know, Africans that come to the US, a lot of Africans that I've spoken to, this is not only Gambians, we've been lucky, to go to a school where we had a bunch of other Africans come in, right? I've spoken to enough people, enough to be concerning, that think that, hey, their mentality is, I'm not from here. I came here from Africa. Buying a home is a huge purchase. It's a lot of money. I'd rather use that money to build at home. And so they end up staying here in the US, however long they are here, whether it's school or work or starting a family, they continue to rent here and take their money and build at home. What's your opinion about that?
For me, it's very simple because I go over that with some folks from time to time. I ask them all the time, where do you reside? Where do you have your life? Do you have your life here? Do you have your life back home? Because you have to comprehend growing up back. So that's also part of culture. Because
Hmm.
going back home, it's being inculcated in us that, hey, you know what? You must build a house here because that's what shows your success. So when you're living there and you're coming, they say, hey, you have to build home. But then you build home where you're residing here. A lot of those folks who build a house here, I mean, over there,
Yeah.
sometimes they never make it into the house. I mean, you might die, or perhaps family might take over your house, or your house is empty. It's money sitting doing nothing. Where you have a family here, you've been here for 20 years, you first must take of where you are. How can you fix a house somewhere where you're living on a street? Fix where you are first. And I tell a lot of people that fix where you are. This is where you live. This is where your life is. You might never go back home. Your wife is here. Your husband is here. Your children are here. Your job is here. Your business is here. The only thing you have there, it's purely sentimental. Nothing.
Mm.
Now,
and
unless
and
you want to make an investment there.
and for the community, just like you said, it's cultural,
It's
where
cultural, yes.
success is measured by people seeing tangible things
Yeah.
that you've created home because you are outside of
Yeah.
the continent. And so some people have to live by that due to societal pressure. and
Exactly.
so and so they end up having to think they have to build over there and continue renting here. And you're talking about people that actually form families. So if you were having this same conversation with a 19, 20-year old that is still in college, they're still under 25, and they're going to college, they don't know yet whether they will leave after they graduate and start working. They don't know if they will leave, but they're working enough to actually dabble into whether it's apartment buying, whether it's just getting into real estate. But they still have this mentality that, hey, I might go home. When it comes to home buying or getting into real estate, it's something I can't touch because there's a lot of money that goes in there. What kind of conversation will that be if you were sitting with somebody that was thinking like that?
I think it's gonna be case by case at that time. Case
Hmm.
by case. Because some people actually do come and live right after.
Yep,
You know,
true. Yep.
and a lot of people come and they stay. I mean, I wasn't supposed to be staying here. I was supposed to come and live, but I'm here. So I'm saying is, I think also one has to be honest with his or herself. But I think at some point, if you're here after a while, you start living life, you start meeting people, maybe like thinking about the family. And plus, let's be honest, if you meet somebody from a different country and not your home country, there's a likelihood that you might stay here more
Yes.
than going back to yours or
Because of that.
hers or hers.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so there are different dynamic that comes into the picture where I'll say first, get your affair in order, have a clarity in what you're trying to accomplish,
Hmm.
finish schooling, perhaps play the stock market, that's easy. Play the stock market, perhaps do some
Basically,
investment.
take advantage of where you are. Take
Where you are, that's
maximize
it.
the benefits of
Yeah.
where you are.
Yeah.
Hmm.
If
Hmm.
tomorrow you leave, you leave. If you're here tomorrow, at least if you have some money sitting around, buy a house or do whatever.
And here's what I say, because as a first-time owner, it's been what 3 years now. Before I got into it, I had a certain mentality, of what home buying means, right? Because of again, because of where I come from. So ingrained in me is that you buy a home at X place, basically you're stuck there, right? So I never got to that place of like evolving into this new place that I live in, where the home you buy, where you live, doesn't mean you're tied to that place. If you get an opportunity, whether it's a job or business elsewhere, we're talking about the United States, where is you can either leave that home as an investment home and continue getting something from it, or selling it and buying a new home wherever you're moving. So if people are not tied to a place because of a home here in the US, I didn't know that, or not didn't think about that before I actually got into the research of living in my first home. Is do you have new people that come to you, or clients that come to you to talk to you about home buying, and they come with a mentality or an idea that is totally wrong, and you have to end up like kind of like changing all of that, preconceived notions?
I mean, that's part of what I do.
That's
Again,
what
as I
you
said
do.
earlier,
Hmm.
I'm big on education. Because
Hmm.
once people are properly educated, they can make the right decision.
Yeah.
So if somebody, like in your case, if I'd met you when you were looking at your property, I'll tell you, well, most people move 5 to 7 years. Most people move houses or sell the houses, for instance,
Wow.
And that's where you are. You might start today here, you make, let's say, X amount of dollar. We all like to ameliorate our lives, you
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
So today you buy a two-bedroom house. Tomorrow you make, let's say, 5 years from now, you make 2 times the salary you make. You want, no, you're not gonna like your two-bedroom house.
Inshallah.
Yeah, you're going to say, I want to get a bigger house in a different neighborhood.
Of course.
You're going
Yeah.
to upgrade, and
Yes.
so that's more or
Yes.
less what it is. Like it don't, like doesn't have to be sedentary. It can just be very fluid, flexible, moving. It can be
Hmm.
mercurial. So I think that's more or less. So once you comprehend that, you can move accordingly. Now back home, it's a different thing because people don't move like that. The
Yes.
house become a
Yes.
family house.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have, so that is not something that's just erased because you change your geographical location. You're now in the US, it's gone. It's almost as if you have to unlearn
Mm.
that, right? You see somebody from home where, for me, where I was born, where I grew up, is still where my parents' house is. This is a whole 4 decades later, still same place. So that, and for a lot of us, doesn't change. But here in the US, almost every state that I live in, when I meet a young person, they tell me where their parents live, where they live now, where they went to school, where they ended up buying a home. So mobility is easier over here, and it's and just embedded in what people do. And I hope our people learn that and know there's a lot more flexibility. We I knew our conversation will be mostly about real estate and home buying, but the reason why I want to keep it there is because of how important it is as an investment, especially for us Africans and as immigrants. We need to know it's not a place that is for them, it's not for me, because a lot of our people think that, oh, I'll continue renting, I'm not from here. 10, 20 years later, still the same. They won't even research enough to even see what it means, or like you said, like educate themselves on what it means to shift over to home buying.
Mm.
If you already are educating, you're letting people know, right? You're talking about it, you're talking about how not complicated it is if you follow what you need to do in order to get there. Now, if you continue having this audience, what are the key things you wanna share, as far as like just specifically people from our kind of demographic? Here as an immigrant, a student maybe ended up staying here, and now you have your family, or you don't even have your family yet. What would be the information you really want to share, with people.
I think first flexibility, open mindedness, because you need to be open minded to be able to
Mm,
comprehend things. And somebody said one time, what you know is not more important than what you don't know, or what you don't know is
mm,
more important than what you know. So once you start traversing life with this mindset, everything's a lot easier because now you go and you know, okay, I'm right today. This is my profession. I'm a broker, so I'm supposed to be an expert. But I
mhm,
rarely use the term expert. People
mhm,
use that, and the reason
mhm.
why I don't use the term expert because I always tell myself I have so much to learn,
Yeah, okay.
and so I cannot say I'm an expert as much as people say that. So I'm like, no, what I know is nothing compared to what I don't know yet about the industry.
Mm, mm,
So once you go like that, once you traverse everything, you go through this voyage of life, comprehending that in general, this does not just apply in real estate, it apply in life at the same time, Because as an
mhm,
entrepreneur, what you do, I tell people as an entrepreneur, once you become an entrepreneur and you start really following certain way of thinking, it's not the money is a consequence of who you become. So when I say traverse life in a way of thinking, oh, I know nothing.
I see.
I need to
I
learn
see what
some
you say.
more. So
Okay.
it coming from element of humility, but of course, you have to have a self confidence. It can be a contradiction, but you're humble
No,
enough.
I hear you. I hear what you're saying. Yep.
So
Mm-hmm.
once you're
Mm-hmm.
humble enough, you come and say, "Hey, you know what, Kadjolo, I think I want to buy a house back home." First, I always ask people why. I'm like, "What are you trying to accomplish?" That's the first question I ask all of my clients.
Mm-hmm.
They say, "I want to buy a house." The first thing is why, because if you don't know why, I can ill advise you.
Mm,
So I need to know why.
mm,
Now, if you come, I want to buy a house. Oh, I don't want to buy a house because of X, Y, Z. Then I can say, well, this way of thinking, or perhaps your reasoning, might not be correct. I won't say correct. I see how you're thinking, but perhaps look at it this angle. Now, if
mm.
you're open-minded, you say, "Oh, wow!" So you can come and say, "You know what? I don't want to buy here. I want to buy back home because when I buy back home, the house is going to pick up value for sure."
Huh.
No, nothing goes up all the time. Things crash to
It's
begin
possible.
with.
Okay.
That's
Mm.
possible. Everything crash at some point.
Yeah.
And reason why back home, when you buy a house there, because people give when they promise, it's also a way, from what I've assessed myself, I could be
Mm-hmm.
wrong. It's also a good way for inheritance as well. So even if the parents don't have cash in their account, they give you
Yes.
something
Yes.
as well. So the house can stay there for 10,000 years. But if you don't sell the house, you don't realize the profit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if
Mm-hmm.
you get a house, it's keep there, it's fine. Now, of course,
Yes.
you don't have a mortgage to pay, no rent to pay.
Right.
Whereas here, it's a bit different. You have so many investment vehicles
Different ways to
to
use
make
your
money
home as an asset.
as
Yeah.
an asset. Plus,
Mm.
you can use your home to pay for your children education, for instance.
Yes.
You can use your home perhaps if you do some cash out to do something else elsewhere.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there are so many ways of leveraging your home to do something else.
Owning that property and being able to leverage it for
Yes.
other things, using that equity, if you have it,
Yeah.
rental and all that stuff.
Yeah. So
Mm.
I think it's all gonna come down to the individual because everybody has different way of thinking, different way of seeing things. But as long as you're willing to be open minded and to see things differently compared to how you see, I think you'll make a decision that makes sense for you. If making sense for you is building back home and holding,
Yes.
alhamdulillah, do it.
Oh, yeah, do your thing.
Yeah, do your thing. If you might come back and say, no, you know what, I was wrong about building home, I want to build here, do it as well. So I tell people, my case might not be good for you.
Yes.
Yours might not be good for me, so, but get the right uh, knowledge, the right tool to make the right decision.
So you advocate the knowledge part, you advocate the learning part. Make sure you educate yourself enough to actually make a decision. And I like how you approach this, where I've asked questions where you don't go by general umbrella. You know it's case by case, but you know certain things for sure, which are, hey, whatever you're doing, especially in this world of yours, make
Yes.
sure you go by educating yourself, because you were actually being careful in not advising certain things that are related to a lender versus you, a realtor. So your integrity is just oozing in this conversation like
Right.
nobody else. This is why I believe whoever is not only in our community, because you're not only serving our community, just whoever wants information or start a relationship with you, even if they don't live in these states that you're licensed in. They can find you because what you do first is educate before you get to the other things. Bro, this is why I wanted you. As as we wind down, this is what I want to know. So here you are, now a broker. You own your business. You own your business. You serving what, 4 states?
Yeah.
You're licensed in 4 states. Uh, uh, um, what I want to know is, did you face any challenges that are unique or specific to just you as an African immigrant who is getting into real estate? Did you face any challenges at all?
So I'm gonna give an answer perhaps that I'm not sure shock you or people might think it's cliche. There are challenges, of course, hands down. But it's the approach to that, you know. As I'm like, okay, for instance, this is happening. You can be frustrated. Let me take a step back. Okay, what do I need to do here? How do I need to ameliorate myself? Okay, perhaps I've been neglecting this part. So challenges are there, but you have to adapt. It's just life, basically. So I don't see them as like a step back. It's just like, okay,
Mm,
well, because when
mm,
if everything is rosy, it's scary. So whatever it is, whether it's starting the business, having some delays, having to do this thing, uh, tackling. So when I first got to the DMV and elected to start doing real estate, I had a clear strategy in mind.
mm, mm.
I had a clear strategy, and I knew I was like, okay, whatever I do today might pay off in a year. People take time to make decision to buy a house, but not
Yes,
buying a car. So I
yes.
said, whatever I do today is gonna pay off in a year from now, or maybe 2 years.
Uh,
So
uh,
I knew what I was getting into. Hence, educating oneself is very important. So I knew what I was getting into. So when I started the business, as an agent, I just executed my plan. I thought about nothing else. I just executed my plan.
so
That's all I did.
you had a long-term plan. You had
Yes.
your strategy. You
Yeah.
kept educating yourself. You kept, fine-tuning your plan,
Yeah.
and you basically, and I'll use this word, disregarded. You disregarded anything that has to do with how what people see as, this African immigrant as a description that is attached to you. Challenges will come, and part of your strategy is figuring out how to face those challenges head on as they come,
Yeah.
not victimize yourself.
Exactly. So
I
as
love that.
yeah.
I love that. I love that because here's why I mentioned that. As our people are listening, as immigrants, and in this case, in this platform, as Africans are listening, they people should not feel like just because you're an immigrant, there are things that are not for you. Like there are places that you can't go. Home buying is not for you. Being a broker is not for you. Owning your business is not for you. You're not from here. You should know whatever way people perceive you is not going to take away all challenges. Even right now, you in Cote d'Ivoire, if you go to form a business or create a business right now, it will come with its own unique challenges. Even as a person from there.
Just adapting.
Wow, just adapting with every situation that you're
Yeah.
in. So, bro, here at StemToRoots, part of what we want to actually bring up is, just people that come from our continent figuring out, okay, I've been outside the continent for this long, whether it's Europe or America or Asia or wherever. I've been a professional all your professional life you've given to the US, correct?
Yeah.
Right. And conversations that I've had is people trying to figure out, how do I get rid of that guilt, if there's any, by doing something at home without being there in person. If I can't just pack up and leave right now, how am I able to contribute my skill set, my knowledge, my expertise at home? Is that something that you've thought about?
Yeah, I thought about it. Of course, it's. I think it gonna give back for sure.
Hmm.
And plus, our goal is to make sure to ameliorate wherever we are, everything else.
Hmm.
And you can do that by starting a structure there, maybe joining somebody else's plan.
Hmm.
or just simply educating people randomly, giving some pieces of advice here and then, those kind of things.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
it's as far as that, just yeah, starting something over there. And that's something I think about all the time, how
Mhm.
to do it.
Mhm.
Like you can. So I take my case for instance. I'm trying to go back home once. No, I
Uh,
go back home once a year. I'm trying
uh-huh.
to go back home twice a year if possible.
Uh-huh.
Because as I said earlier, it's a matter of like first relearning. Because
Mhm.
once we left with a certain way of thinking, and
Mhm.
it was in a certain relearning, and now saying, okay, how can I offer what I have to offer to people? Because there could be some resistance,
Mhm. Mhm.
and
Mhm.
from that, slowly bring what you have to bring to help make an impact.
I'm in conclusion here. I hope I don't end this conversation in any kind of negative light, but because I'm not, that's not the intention. What I try to do here is actually lay out facts as they are. That way, we'll know these are things that we know, whether they are concerns, whether they are just, yeah, borderline facts, and we have to discuss them and put them on the table so that us here, us at home, leaders that have an impact on making changes will all hear that and know that these are concerns. And I've had a few people that in our conversation I'll mention, okay, after living here for this long, right, as a professional, came here as a student, um, you have a certain lifestyle that actually is what is convenient for you right now. You've been going home at least once a year, for a while now. Does your environment at home actually match up to your lifestyle right now in the DNV area, as far as convenience, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's health, whether it's whether it's just easy access to stuff? Is it a match?
Okay. Of course, it's not that kind of match, to be honest with
Okay.
you, because here we have
Okay.
access to almost. So here you have access to convenience at any
Okay.
given time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Back home, we see building to bring those convenience to us, and
Mm-hmm.
we're kind of progressing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But again, when I go home, every time I go home,
Mm-hmm.
my mindset is ready. What is getting stuck in traffic for 10,000 hours, having to drive recklessly? I'm ready because I'm like, okay, I'm going elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I want to do something there. I need to be able to find a way to kind of fit in.
Fit into that.
Yeah,
Okay.
fit in that. It's not about them fit. So I was watching this thing one time, True Blood. It's a TV show, and that scene marked me.
Mm-hmm.
It was Lafayette who was selling the vampire blood, and
Mm-hmm.
Eric. Eric is
Mm-hmm.
a vampire.
Mm-hmm.
And Eric gave him some blood, and Lafayette could not move the merchandise. That was like in early 2000, I think,
Uh-huh.
2005,
Uh-huh.
2006. But it got
Uh-huh.
stuck in my head ever since.
Uh-huh.
And Lafayette was complaining that they couldn't sell move the blood. And Eric told him, "You want your clients to fit into your plan. That arrogance. You don't want to take more or less. You don't want to take the time to understand your client. You want the other
To
way
understand.
around." He
I
said,
see.
"He
I
said that's
see.
arrogant,"
I
and
see.
that stayed with me. And ever
Uh,
since, when I interact with clients or wherever I go, and I know I'm new there, I'm like,
uh,
it's my job to find a way to comprehend and fit within that. And I guarantee you, you go home and you do that, it's a lot. You don't even have to bring and talk about a problem. People will bring a problem to you and
to
ask for
you.
your opinion.
Yes. Yes.
But when you go
Yes.
as like a lot of us, when you go home, we go as saviors. Of course, granted,
Ah.
because
Ah.
we have expertise and then they're like, okay, I'm gonna touch the pump for key. I mean, who do you think you are? Like, you
Yes.
don't know
Yes.
our way of
Yes.
being here. So
Yes.
now you go from savior now to being annoying. But if you go and you humble yourself, I might be like, you know what? Okay, you're good, you're expert in whatever you're doing, plus you're
Yeah.
humbling yourself. Here's a
Yeah.
problem. Or what do you think? So I think a lot of people, we just have to shift how we see stuff and
Yeah.
just be humble.
I like how you put that. This is what I was excited about when I thought about having you, because not only did you drop nuggets, but you've shown us a side where us as Africans living here, you've given an example where, get into whatever you set your mind to or you want to do without any kind of restrictions or without any kind of like, blockages that you set upon yourself. I want people to continue to learn from you, outside of this platform. So what I want you to share at this point is, where can people find you? How can they ask you questions? How can they become potential clients of yours? Because for somebody who will educate you before you even talk about money, I feel like it's a fair deal.
Wow.
How can people find you?
So you can find me, of course, on Facebook, Kadjolo Coulibaly, on
Mhm.
Instagram, Kadjolo Coulibaly, of course, on LinkedIn, where you follow me as well, Kadjolo Coulibaly. You can reach me on the phone, WhatsApp, text, call at 202-492-4045. Again, 202-492-4045.
I will link all of that. As soon as we upload this, we will link all of that.
Sure.
Because the reason why I want people to find you is, this is a world that is not tailored for for other people and not you, whoever this is. So if you have somebody like a brother who can educate you before you even talk about getting into it, I think that is 100%, your advantage and not his. Bro, thank you very much for
My
coming.
pleasure. My
This
pleasure.
won't be the end of it, because I will need to have you back. There are things that, because you come with a wealth of knowledge, and I wanted to extract so much from the real estate side that I didn't go into sides that I know you also have knowledge on and you can discuss. I just kept it real estate. So thank you for coming. Until that next time that I'll bring you back for other things.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thanks for
Ah,
inviting me.
this is great. Thank you very much, bro.
Thank you.